I will bring my beautiful model today. So we are going to be creating my inspiration look will be a asymmetrical bob. So a mix of a mushroom cut and a bob using the lifting and rolling method that we have at Rusk. So maybe some of you have used this method before. I'm sure you guys have seen it used before, but how can we take this method that we love and that we have been using for years, and how can we apply it a bit differently to really create something a bit more exciting, something a bit different than this, the usual way we're going to use it, which is I'd say something like a more traditional bob. So how can I take this method and push it a bit further? And then we're going to see some disconnection. We're going to see like very short bangs, angled short bangs, or fringe. I love doing these very short fringe. So this is a bit of my signature. So I like to incorporate it in many of my haircuts. So without further ado, let's start with the sectioning. So as you can see, I've used a vibrant color in this hair. So I have been using Deep Shine Direct colors. So I will be talking a bit more about my formulas during this presentation. Maybe you guys recognize this beautiful model that I've used a couple weeks ago, but I made sure I was saving enough length to keep playing and have more fun with her because I really like the color. So I thought I kept it long last time, so I thought maybe give it something a bit more of an exciting cut today. So I am going to start by dividing that head into two. So super simple. What lives in front of the ear from what lives behind the ear. So from the top of the head to just behind the ear. And I'm going to be using clips. And then I'm going to be doing the same thing on this side. So, super simple, right? And just because it's advanced doesn't mean it needs to be super hard, right? Or super like complicated or tricky. It's just like that you're taking this method that you've been using for a long time and bring it somewhere else. Bring it like in a more exciting way for you and your clients. Because we tend to, get comfortable, and then we know what is quick, and then we know the techniques that we can use to, we go fast in our salon. It has to, it has to be quick. So sometimes we kind of get a bit too comfortable and tend to do the same thing over and over. And if, I don't know if you guys do that in your salon as well. If you don't, and if you like getting out of your comfort zone, well, good for you. But I sometimes realize maybe I've been using this method a bit too often. Maybe I should try something else and just make things a bit more exciting, right? So how can we take this beyond the fringe, lifting and rolling method to another level? What can I do with it? Because these techniques, these Rusk methods are so versatile, and this is what I love about these methods. Is they give you tools to really build and to really create what you have in mind. So Beyond the Fringe method is one of our basics haircuts, just like the halo technique is, the rotation, the ponytail method. So these are techniques. They're not like a haircut that you have to follow from A to Z to create one certain look. It's a method, it's a technique that you can use to mix and match together to really create and really to get where you want to go. So when you are using the Beyond the Fringe method, you want that head to be a bit angled down So when you use the beyond the fringe, the lifting and rolling method, you usually start in the center if you're creating a bob, like a conventional bob. But here, we are going to start on the left, on the right side of the head. My right, maybe your left, depending on how it appears on the screen. So, combing the hair in its natural falling, I will start with my delta straight blades. So combing this hair in its natural falling, I want to take the whole section. So as I said earlier, we are creating something a bit asymmetrical, which is going to be halfway between a mushroom cut and a bob haircut. So I will bring this whole section up. And you see this corner here, this is going to be my visual guide. So I want to make sure that I am grabbing everything. So the last comb has to be underneath to grab everything. And I want to bring everything to my visual guide. So imagine when you usually use the beyond the fringe method, you have the hairline as your guide. But you have here to imagine that you have a line that will be slightly angled, because I said earlier it was going to be a bit asymmetrical. So you have to imagine that you have this line here that you have to follow. So the bob will be angled. So it's going to be from the top of the ear to the bottom of the ear on this side. All right. So it's going to be slightly angled. So I have to keep that in mind. When I'm cutting the straight line. So it's going to be straight but angled. So you comb everything. And here, do I want to keep more length or do I want to make it shorter? So remember, the number of fingers that you are keeping in your lifting and rolling will determine the length that you are leaving on this head. So if you want it a bit tighter, you can remove one finger or maybe two. So if you only have one finger down there, then it's going to be closer to the head. So it's going to be shorter. All right. So we're not afraid. Let's do it with 2 fingers and see what it gives. So I have to remember slightly angled, and then we'll see. So bring everything to this corner, and then I want to lift. Now I see my corner, and then I want to roll. All right? So when I am rolling, I have to create this straight angle. So it's going to be perpendicular. All right? So you don't want to over roll, or you are going to lose the beveled graduation that you want to create using the lifting and rolling method. So it's easy to do the wrong thing when you're using this method. So there are basics and there are rules to follow when you're using this method. So what you want to do is to comb everything. All right, I will do it. I just had to explain everything. So, and also remember your elbow has to be straight, in a straight line with your wrist. All right, so you have control. So you lift and then you roll. You don't want to over roll, slightly angled. And you are cutting, the whole thing. Alright, so this hair travels. So you see I removed one finger, so it's going to be a bit shorter. Okay? So see, I created a weight line, bit of this bevel graduation here, and then this hair traveled. So you're creating graduation and a weight line. So this is going to sit here. So this is going to follow the shape of the head. So in one step, you're creating graduation, layers, and a weight line. So same thing, make head a bit forward. And I love to work on damp hair, like on wet hair when I'm cutting, especially with these methods. I think it keeps my separations clear, my work clean. It's easier to follow and to really create my nice separations. And I'm using one of my favorite products, the Sensories Smoother. If I had to choose like one, this has to be one of my very favorite. So it's always on my station. I use it on every client. It keeps the hair smooth, nice and silky, and helps me to really have control on that head, on that hair. So moving to the second section. So I would say my sections are like 2 inches wide. It always depends on the length of your fingers. So I have long fingers, so I can maybe grab a bit more. So bring everything up. 2 fingers. You want to clip here. You want to lift. And remember the line you are following, right? So I grabbed a little piece of my previous section. So you want to comb everything up. Clip. You lift and roll. All right, so here my visual guide is here. So I want to cut moving towards the bottom of the ear on the left side. Okay, see that? So I'm moving in this direction. This method is a bit tricky to explain and to do, but once you really get like the idea and the motion, it will be one of your favorite. Is this something you guys have used before, the lifting and rolling method? You can tell me in the comments, what do you think about this method? Alright, so combing everything up. You clip, you lift, and then you roll. Oh, maybe I did it a bit too fast here. So, and remember, your fingers always have to touch the head of your model. Otherwise, you're gonna keep too much length. So, lift and roll. Fingers are touching the head. Okay, so nice. I'm following this line. So this can be a bit tricky. So you might want to, sometimes you're gonna have to redo it to really make sure you're following this line. But so far, I think this is looking good. So I'm really traveling towards the bottom of the ear on this side. One last section. Oh, sorry. I drop the comb. Alright, so one last section. Comb everything. 2 fingers. You lift. Again, visual guide is here. Fingers touching the head. And then straight line. How can I do this one here? All right. Well, maybe I have a piece or two here that I could touch up. Just comb everything. And then this is how you can double check. So you take the whole section. Like this. Oh, I see them here. So you just take the whole section and then you look if everything needs to be cut. So at Rask, we don't really cross-check our work because everything has to, every section will be independent. So we're not like cross-checking, but there are ways we can, like just redo the same motion, the same movement, and see if everything falls right into place. All right. So from up here to down there using the lifting and rolling method. So I have my weight line and then my graduation. Now what I want to do is to use my texturizing blades to start over, redo the same motion, and really texturize everything so that everything will be blended together. So I'm going to be using my Gamma texturizing blades. All of the Rask blades have the swivel, the 360-degree swivel thumb, to really give you nice control, to keep a natural position, no discomfort. So it really is like your hand really is in control of the tool that you're using. So I don't know if you guys are using Rask swivel thumb blades, but I started using them 12 years ago when I was in hair school, and really I couldn't use anything else because the swivel thumb really is, like my hand really can do anything with the blade. So I really am in control. So it's so much easier to work with. You may need a couple haircuts, a couple times to get used to it if you're using like regular blades. But like moving to swivel thumb, your life will be, it really is a game changer. All right, so moving back to my first section, again, I want to, so remember, I took 2 fingers to create this line here, right? Now, I have to drop another finger because I want to, if I'm keeping 2 fingers, then I'm going to have the same, then I'm going to go back to my straight line. If I drop another finger, then I'm going to have hair to texturize. So, and I can't even, you see I clip, and then I can move a bit higher, all right, to really have hair to texturize. So I want to soften that solid line, but I don't want to over texturize it because I don't want to remove all the weight. Otherwise, I will erase this straight line. But I want it textured. Okay, so it looks softer. So you see the difference here. It looks more diffused than this heavy line here. All right, so moving to the next section, same thing. So I'll drop another finger, so I'm only using 2 fingers. So you comb everything up, you clip, you lift, and you roll. So you're doing the same motion, and you're texturizing within this inch inch and a half. On the ends. Good. Traveling to the next section. So I would say I use 4 to 5 sections to create this, but again, it all depends on the length of your fingers. You comb everything up, you clip, lift, and roll. See how lighter my sections are? Okay. The 2 last section. Last comb. Last combing underneath. Everything up. Clip, lift, and roll. So I'm still following this invisible line. Alright, so, and the reason why I'm using this texturizing blade is the gamma blades. The teeth are a bit closer, so they're similar to a regular thinning blades, but the teeth are a bit further apart, so it really helps you to make that blade slide in the hair, and it's really easy to control, but it's going to give you a nice velvety finish. So I don't want anything too piecey here, I just want it softer, so this will be the best tool to use when you want to create a softer line. And we have 2 more texturizing blades. So there's the alpha texturizing blades. Alpha blades are bigger teeth and bigger spaces in between. So this one will give you something a bit more defined, all right? So you're gonna create openings in the hair, you're gonna create more definition. So it's ideal on curly hair, and it's also a really good tool in finer hair because they're like volumizing shear. Because what you are creating is smaller sections between longer pieces. So you're creating a lot of support. So sometimes in finer hair, maybe 1 or 2 cut with the blades are going to create a lot of support, so give you more volume. And the third texturizing blades are the beta texturizing blades, so a mix of the 2 that we've just seen. So bigger teeth and smaller teeth in between to remove length and texturize at the same time. So it all depends on what you want to create. We have all the tools that you need to really be able to get creative and create exactly what you want behind your hair. So going back to my texturizing here, combing everything up, drop. So 1 finger, lift and roll. So I'm making this blade travel as I want to create something as precise as I did with my straight blade. Okay, because at Brosque, we believe that every solid line has to be broken in order to make that hair move and make this look, this style more modern and fluid. Okay, so it's shorter here, longer here, and we really can see the asymmetry. And this hair has to be texturized as well. So let's use another blade. So, just so we can see the difference. So when I combed everything up, what I just texturized was this section here. But this is way too heavy. So since I have so much hair, you know, the back of the head, often where we have more bulk, more density. So I want to work with something that will remove a bit more hair. So I'm going to use my beta texturizing blade. So the bigger teeth and smaller teeth in between. So I will simply use my comb. So bring everything up. And I want to connect this length with my straight line. So everything looks blended together. So the first cut, I want to keep this length. So I will connect the length with my solid line and then move to the ends. So I'm making sure everything that traveled will be texturized. And you see how much hair I can remove. And if I stayed here, I could cut length and texturize at the same time. So it's now lighter, and I do it in no time. Of course, I could use point cutting or slide cutting, but with rust blades, we're doing something similar, but like in 30 seconds, rather than like taking every tiny section and then to slide cut it and then point cut it. I just feel like it's more work, right? So I want to work smarter, not harder. So we have the tools for you to do it more quickly. But if you like the feel or the result of point cutting or slide cutting, well, it's just you can do it. You can do it, right? So it's just our interpretation, and we want to give you more tools and more options to work behind your chair and to feel more confident. And sometimes if you need a bit more to go a bit quicker, then you have the texturizing blades to do it. So we're following the shape of the head here. See, it's sitting more flatter it's following the shape of the head. We've removed the bulk, but we maintain this nice bump here. Oops. Alright, so again, same thing here. And I find this section a bit heavy, so I will go back with my Gamma texturizing blades, lift and roll. And I think it's a bit heavy because this is where I have more length. It's longer here than here. So I might have to go a bit deeper in my texture. So I might have to grab exactly where the weight area is. I want to grab it, and then I will hold it straight out and see why it is so thick and so heavy. So I really want to grab that piece, that heavier piece of hair, hold it straight out. And here I see I have a bit more density. So I will go deeper in my texture, and then I will move towards the end. Now, maybe again here a little. So I really grab this section, hold it straight out, and see where, usually where it's darker, it's where you need to go back and add more texture. Because more hair will appear darker when they all stick together, right? Okay, so I have my angled asymmetrical bob at the back. Now let's move to the front. So to the front, a bit more more water. So for the front, I said earlier that I wanted to create a shorter fringe and some disconnection. So looking at how the hair falls naturally, I want to isolate this length on top. See, I'm really listening to what the hair has to tell me, how it falls. I really like to work with how the hair naturally falls because then it's going to be easier to style. And to me, haircutting, I say it all the time. To me, it's like an intuitive art. All right. So I have an idea in my head, but during the haircut, I have to see like, is it gonna respond well to what I want to create? So how does this hair fall? So I want to keep this section a bit longer. So I will use a clip to create a bit more disconnection. So remember, this line, I will follow it to connect to the front. So just I do a bit of freehand cutting, so I will just draw the fringe exactly how I want it. So I'm using my straight blades. I'm gonna start cutting here. Remember, it's always easier on a human head. Because this hair sticks out a bit too much. But on a human head, it looks beautiful when the hair pattern allows it. So I want to connect. Maybe a bit more control with my comb. Right. Okay, so using my straight blade, I just cut this straight line. So I am following this line, creating this connection. I actually like what's happening here. So I might want to keep, I thought I would cut it short to create an undercut, but I kind of like this connection that we're creating here. So, but even though I want it disconnected, doesn't mean it means to, it can be a bit connected with my texture. So just getting rid of these two hairs. So I'm going to grab my Gamma texturizing blades. And I want to connect this straight line again with the drop out section that I have here. So the first cut will be same length as my solid line. So I bring everything to this line. The first cut will be here. And then I'm going to travel down to the ends. Okay? So I want a drop out section, but I still want it to look blended and to look like it belongs there. I don't want it to look like I forgot to cut a piece. And I think this is going to make the whole difference when you are creating something a bit edgier. Like, it has to look like everything is controlled, and it has to be controlled actually. You have to look, it has to look like you know what you're doing, right? Because you don't want it to look like, oh, did he forget to cut it? Like, it doesn't belong there. No, I want everything to be blended. And that's the beauty of the texturizing blades, is because you can, even though you're leaving dropout sections, you can connect everything. So maybe I need to go back here and just fine tune. And just fine tune this link between my two sections. Alright. So if I want to texturize this section, I will do the same motion that I did with my lifting and rolling, but I will do it with the comb. So I want to lift and then roll. So you are kind of doing the beyond the fringe with your texturizing blades and your comb. Sorry, ma'am. So I'm working with my Gamma texturizing blades again to just to make it a little softer, and to make sure that I remove all of the tiny hair that could get frizzy and could look uncontrolled. So do you guys have any questions? If you have questions, just don't be shy, just ask me, pop it in the comments. I love talking to you. I love when it's a bit more interactive. So, okay, I want to keep this a bit longer. So again, let's isolate this section. So that will be my money piece, my little dessert. All right. What haircut is this? So this haircut is a mix. This is this is my interpretation of the lifting and rolling, the beyond the fringe method. So we're creating an asymmetrical bob. So I'm taking this section that we've been using for years, I'm taking it to the next level and just showing you how to create something a bit different with it. So to give a bit more balance, this big section here, I will keep it long as well to balance with what we did on this side, okay? So I want to maintain length to the left as well. Okay. Just want to make sure you guys can see well what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm dropping this section out, but I still want to have integration, okay? So again, I will grab a piece here. So my first cut will be connecting the lengths together, and then I will working my way out to create connection. So I'm using vertical sections to make sure I'm texturizing all of the hair. So this is maintaining the length and creating invisible layers at the same time. And by invisible layer, I mean all of the hair will be different length, but with the texturizing blades, like you can't tell where the layers are starting because it's all in the interior, right? So you're creating invisible layers because there's no way you can say, oh, this is where it starts. So it just looks connected, and that's the beauty of texturizing blades. And then it creates volume. I just want to make sure it doesn't just sit heavy there. So maybe a bit more. All right. So for the top, the reason why I dropped the comb again. Cleaning it? Okay, so the reason why I kept this section, I isolated it, is because I want to create kind of a veil that's going to cover, that will fall and just cover bits of this tiny fringe. So I'm gonna use my straight blades. So for those who love slide cutting, this is where you're gonna have fun. So I will just divide this section into 3 to 4 rectangular or triangular sections. If you work with triangular section, the tip of the triangle, where it's short, it's going to be thinner, and then you're going to keep more hair towards the larger section. So you can slide cut it, you can scoop it using the scooping method. So I am moving my blades and always moving my thumb. So it's gonna cut and slide at the same time. Okay, so, and it doesn't have to be 100% even. So every section will be independent. So you're creating something a bit more organic. It's gonna move. It's gonna be different lengths. Okay, so you have shorter, you have longer, and then I'm gonna use my texturizing blades, so everything looks blended together, even though I have many different lengths. Okay, so back to my gamma blade. So I cut it this way, but now when I want to texturize, I will hold it straight up and then see exactly where it needs to be texturized. Oh, see, I'm creating volume, and I'm creating tiny, nice shorter bits that will look a bit more stylish. So it may not be a haircut that you will do on your everyday regular clients, but it's just like, how can I take these tools and create something different? How can I incorporate some of these techniques? And just the way I have been using the Beyond the Fringe rolling, lifting and rolling method at the back, I will sometimes use it on my regular older ladies, just in a straight way. So I will bring everything up. So you're gonna have this nice bump here at the back, and then this graduation following the head shape, and then removing the bulk. It's just how you approach and how you use these techniques. So remember, these are tools, they're versatile, you can create everything you want with them. Okay, now, let's dry this beauty. So, for blow dry, I am going to be using one of our new product in the Pure Mix family, the Blooming Sunflower. So Blooming Sunflower is, this is a volumizing mist. Comes with a shampoo and a conditioner. So these are volumizing products. The special polymer and featured in these products will thicken the hair, lift that hair, give some nice body, some volume. So I want to spray a bit of this mist, and it smells so good. What I love about Pure Mix is that they're 100% sulfate free, paraben free, it's silicone free as well, cruelty free, so it's free of everything, but it really works. The shampoo lathers, it smells great. You get this luxurious lather when you're working this shampoo in wet hair. So it's a great family of product. And to this family, we just added also the fresh pomegranate shampoo, conditioner, and hairspray that I'm going to be finishing this look with. So the fresh pomegranate with antioxidant will really help prolong the longevity of your color. So it's going to seal that cuticle to really keep that color inside the hair shaft and give great shine and moisturize the hair. So combined to my Blooming Sunflower Mist, I'm going to be using a bit of the wire because I put wire everywhere. Wire is our flexible styling cream. You can cocktail it with everything to give more body, more hold, more definition to any product. So you just work it like this in your hand, and you want to apply it everywhere. Remember, if you want 100% of the hair to look good, then 100% of the hair has to be covered in product, right? So you apply it from the scalp to the ends. Make sure everything is covered. You can use wires on damp hair, on dry hair, so it's gonna add definition, separation, and nice body to the hair. So wired really is one of my go-to that I have to use. It's always on my station. So I'm going to be drying this hair with my Speed Titanium blow dryer. A good thing that I love about this dryer is like the buttons are back there, so you're not closing or and turning it off and on. It really is easy to control, perfect balance. It's powerful, so it's a really great blow dryer. It's not heavy either, so you can use it behind your hair all day long. And in this Rust Pro line engineering family, we also have a flat iron and a curling iron. So 3 heat setting, 1 cool shot button as well. So the way that I'm going to blow dry it, I'm using a flat brush. So the reason why I'm using a flat brush is because I have more control. I don't want to, even though I created something a bit rounder, I don't want to lift everything with a round brush. So using the flat brush will really help me to control and really control the hairline and the way I want that hair to fall. So if I want a bit more volume, I can lift the hair with the brush, or I can just bring it where I want it to fall, so it's going to be a bit flatter. So I'm sealing that cuticle and really having more control. So you want to make sure that everything around is blow dried flat. Okay? Because if you lift everything too much, then it's going to be just like a big round bubble, and you don't want that with this look. So it's like building a house. So the basement has to be, you start with a round and then you build the volume up. Especially with these mannequin heads, like the hair sticks out, so you really want to blow dry it flat. So talking about the color, we can see a bit more now that I am blow drying it. I have been using the Rock Heat Shine Ultimate Blonde Lightener that's going to help me lift up to 9 levels. So this is a great lightener featuring the In-Utero technology. So it's a sugar complex that will make the hair, that will surround the hair, really protect it while during the lightening process. So I lifted everything up to a level 10, and then I applied I use a Beach Shine Direct shade, bit of the teal, bit of the pink, with a drop of Merlot for my teal and pink sections. And then I tone the white pieces with my Direct Icy White shade. So the Direct Icy White is a toner that comes in a tube that you can use alone without any developer. So it comes out of the tube as dark as a purple shampoo. So it can be a bit scary because it's like navy blue, but it's going to give you this nice icy white color. So if you haven't tried the icy white yet, I really encourage you to grab a tube and try it. And you can also use this, all of these colors to add inside of your formulas as accent colors. So if you need a bit more ash to control warmer shades, warmer tones, then you can add a bit of the icy white in your color formula to boost that ashy color that you need. And so speaking of boost, then you can use the Icy Blonde Beach Shine Boost. So it's our pigmented conditioner. So Cool Blonde will help you maintain the nice cool blonde that you created. So it's a pigmented conditioner that you can leave on for 10 to 15 minutes to really help control and neutralize yellow and warmer tones in your blondes. So I am just blow drying everything flat. I'm trying to do it quick so you guys don't have to watch me blow dry during half an hour. So if I want to add a bit more volume, I will just grab my section and lift up, so I can create a lot of volume even though I'm working with a flat brush with all the texture that we created in this haircut. Okay, so I'm gonna use a bit more, just to finish, a bit more of the wired. So, dry hair, damp hair, wired is super flexible and versatile. So see, it can show all the texture, or we can wear it flat. It all depends on what you want to create, what's the final look that you want. I may think it's still a bit heavy, so I can always go back to texturizing when it's dry. Alright, so I will bring again everything up to my white line. Okay, so a bit more wired, just because why not? A bit of the fresh pomegranate hairspray. It's a medium hold hairspray, so it's nothing that's going to be too stiff. It really is going to keep that hair moving, but still give you a bit of control. So it has a UV protectant. It's really going to protect the hair from the sun, really maintain that color. It's one of the only 2 hairsprays that have these color protecting benefits on the market. So it really is one great tool to use. The smell is delicious. It smells fresh, and it keeps that hair moving, shiny, protects it from the UV rays. All right. So we have something a bit edgy. Well, it's a lot edgy actually. So this angled line that we created earlier with the lifting and rolling method, following the head shape, maintaining length and softness at the back, a bit more disconnection at the front. This could be shorter, it could be longer. It all depends on what you want to create. This is just my interpretation of this look. So I really encourage you to grab a couple of these techniques that we've seen today and to integrate them in your haircuts and to play with them. And just get outside of your comfort zone and just make it a bit more exciting. So I am very glad to have spent this last hour with you. Thank you so much for staying with me.